Hello. So today I want to talk to you about liver disease, specifically how addictive foods are driving fatty liver disease and obesity. So, there's no denying that foods that are rich in fat and sugar, they're very tasty, and some would even say they're irresistible. But really, this delicious, this combination is delicious, but it also can become very addictive. And it actually can be very harmful to your health for a variety of ways. And that's what we're going to go over today. So this is what's called the addictive duo, meaning the sugar and fat combination. So really, sugar gives your brain immense pleasure because it serves as a great source of fuel. But even though it's sweet, it really doesn't give the food that irresistible taste on its own. The component of the food that drives the brain wild really is the fat-sugar combination. So, there was a study done that basically they took milk and it contained a constant amount of sugar. So the concentration of sugar was the same, but it had varying amounts of fat. So the concentration of fat changed. And really what it found is that people generally prefer full fat milk to low fat types. But this is obviously not overly surprising since we all know that zero fat milk is mostly like water. But the fat and sugar combination produces an irresistible, delicious taste. And really most pastry chefs know this, and that's the best way to create the flavor. But up till now, nobody has been able to really create a truly sweet taste without fat. So mainly what gives many foods their character's rich flavor and creamy texture is that fat component. So added salt to this sugar-fat combination, and that's what you can have is called the addictive trio. So salt, sugar, and fat mixed really becomes a source for food addiction. Well, how does this addiction happen? Well, the taste is usually a terrific reward by itself, so you want to consume this food. But when you add the fat and sugar, and maybe even salt, you tend to eat a lot more than what you need to really satisfy the actual hunger. So it really becomes kind of an irresistible taste. And really, according to various studies, the sugar-fat combo causes your brain to release a high amount of dopamine. This is kind of the feel-good brain chemical, and this is what creates the addictive pattern. Well, this resulting high amount of dopamine also triggers a counter reaction that affects the dopamine receptors, which are decreased. They become tolerant, which becomes basically a tolerance to whatever it is, whether it's a drug or food. But really, with this higher tolerance, the same amount of addictive food starts to give you less pleasure. So now you want to eat more and more, really to achieve that same kind of good feeling. But this is really how you slowly start to lose control and really become addicted to foods that are rich in sugar and fat. So, if you're finding yourself having to eat more and more of these foods just to kind of get the same kind of sensation or feeling, then that's a really good indication that you may be starting down a path of a problem. So highly addictive foods, they include the ice cream, white chocolate, stuffed cookies, chips, pizza, and white bread, as opposed to numerous other things. But really it's the sugar, salt, fat combination. Well, what are the health effects of these addictive foods? Well, the sugar and fat rich foods are calorie dense, which often causes you to really consume more calories than your body needs. So for example, a small cup of ice cream contains approximately 250 calories. This is more than 10% of your daily caloric intake for adults, especially if you're not physically active. And it also contains 23% of your daily fat requirements. This is just in that small cup of ice cream. So imagine if you now have a large cup of ice cream and you combine it with other addictive foods like pizza or fries. Well, to make things even worse, these foods are usually not filling. So when you take them in small quantities, you tend to really want to consume a lot more before you even get satisfied. So you tend to really want to eat much, much more. These foods are also digested very quickly, which makes your hunger really become hungry again before too long. Thus, really, you're consuming a tremendous amount of excess calories. Therefore, really consuming this type of food regularly means consuming more calories and fat that you need on a daily basis. But this excess calories and fat that your body doesn't burn cannot just be eliminated. So it's stored as excess fat. Thus, this is really what makes you gain weight and possibly become obese. It's also stored in the liver cells, which is where it can cause fatty liver disease. It's even possible that obesity has become more prevalent over the last 5 decades, really because the food industry has created various kind of high palatable foods that really drive this. So the food industry is trying to get you to eat more of their product, and they know that this combination of salt, sugar, and fat really becomes desirable. So they make their products contain those. Well, how does sugar relate to your health? Well, In addition to being bad for your teeth, sugar is also bad for your liver. So what happens is your liver produces fat from a particular type of sugar, fructose. When you combine excessive amounts of refined sugar and high fructose corn syrup, you're really giving your liver high amounts of fructose to produce fat. This fat is stored in the liver cells, and excess amounts can result in fatty liver disease. In fact, according to some studies, sugar can be as damaging to your liver as alcohol. So even if you have a healthy body weight, you can have fatty liver disease. So this undesirable effect on your liver is really another reason you should limit the intake of these added sugars. And you really should therefore minimize your intake of like soda, pastries, candies, similar foods. How does obesity relate to all this? Well, being overweight or obese diminishes every aspect of your health, from memory to mood to reproductive to respiratory function, but it also increases your risk of chronic diseases such as diabetes, cardiovascular disease, certain cancers. And really there's various pathways for these increased health risks, including hormonal and metabolic changes. It is also attributed to the physical stress of carrying excess weight. So obesity may not only reduce the length and quality of your life, but it also increases your healthcare costs. So really on a bright side though, just losing some weight can really help out and improve your health significantly. So you don't have to achieve the ideal weight before you really start to reap health benefits from weight loss. And so it really doesn't matter when you start to lose weight, it's just get started. So now I want to talk about non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So this is the most common type of chronic liver disease in the developed countries. It usually happens when excess fat accumulates in the liver cell. This condition is known as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease because the fat accumulation is not due to excess alcohol consumption. So this usually happens alongside obesity and other cardiovascular risk factors. It's also not something you just should take lightly because it increases your health risk in a variety of ways. So, you know that you have a certain amount of fat in your liver normally. However, once the fat proportion of your liver is higher than 10%, you're now starting to enter that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. This fat accumulation can cause severe complications. These complications are worse if the fat accumulation causes a lot of inflammation or damage to the liver. So when you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, your liver may actually become inflamed with time, and this inflammation causes the liver cells to be replaced by scar tissue, which can't perform the function of your liver. This condition of scar formation is also known as liver cirrhosis. So if this continues, you may eventually develop liver failure and some cancer. So beyond causing liver cirrhosis, though, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease also increases your risk of heart disease, especially if you're overweight and obese. So what are the symptoms of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? Well, first of all, it doesn't always show symptoms, especially early on, but really, if you're suffering from any of these symptoms, you really should communicate that to your doctor. So generalized weakness, abdominal pain, unexplained weight loss, loss of appetite, motion sickness, especially if you don't usually get motion sickness, confusion or difficulty concentration, unexplained edema, and then any skin discoloration, really particularly around your throat and your armpits. So let's talk about lifestyle approach. So no matter the cause, you're alcoholic, if it's alcoholic related or non-alcoholic related, you can really start treating this by modifying your lifestyle, really to achieve a healthy weight and reduce the amount of fat in your liver. However, if you're currently overweight, you should aim to lose the excess weight safely and really in ways that won't cause you to regain the weight after a short period. So you really should therefore avoid restrictive diets that promote your quick weight loss, which can be harmful to your overall well-being. So some practical and beneficial lifestyle modifications could be limit your intake of the saturated trans fats, so you can replace those with monosaturated or polysaturated fats. Consume low-fat milk, low-fat meats and cheese. Stay away from ready-made donut products, cookies, donuts, puff pastries. These are usually high in sugar content. Use olive oil to replace butter and margarine. Increase your omega-3 fatty acids intake by eating more fish and seafood. Reduce your alcohol consumption. Consume carbohydrates that have a low glycemic index, like the whole grains, instead of the simple carbohydrates that are highly processed foods, the sodas and the sweets. And then be more physically active. You can do this really by participating in a sport or other activities you enjoy. You really should aim to exercise for at least about 30 minutes, about 4 times a week. So what's the key takeaway here? That is that, sugar and fat-rich foods tend to be very delicious, but they can also be very addictive and harmful to your health. That's why, I really can't underestimate the importance of consuming such foods in moderation or avoid them altogether. But the reality is, if you're going to eat those, don't eat them every day. Also, if you're already overweight or have fatty liver disease, you can really start to improve your health and outcomes by making healthy lifestyle choices now. And really, a little weight loss can be very beneficial in lifestyle changes and getting yourself on that path to a better health and wellness. So the thing is really to be beneficial. It's about choosing the right type of healthy diet, and then getting more active, not necessarily exercising, but doing activities you enjoy that increase kind of the heart rate, things like that. But again, fatty liver disease is something that can be very detrimental to people, but there's things you can do to prevent it, but also if you're suffering from it, that you can start to treat it by just simple lifestyle changes. So hopefully you find this somewhat helpful. And again, on your health and wellness journey, if there's anything you need, just let us know. And thank you.